this is a good example of a reno we worked and strategized with the client, which had a great uplift because of the types of renovation work that was done. So this is post-reno. This is listed for rent. You can see landscaping. This is just, the type of look that we're looking for with the pine bark and just some very light landscaping, just spending a couple of $100 there. Light floorboards, charcoal off-white, lightens up the place, and kitchen. Polished floorboards, if there are good floorboards underneath always, or this type of grey carpet. So this is the type of colour carpet that we would look for bedrooms. Okay, and then if we're ever doing bathrooms, we always do dark charcoal floor tiles just to give it a bit of a balance and a mix-up. This is the type of new glass shields that we would look at with the previous bathroom that we looked at that looked very dated. So just that type of glass sheeting is quite cost effective to modernise and replace older glass, frosted glass, etc. And this is the type of modern white fittings and vanity units that we would use to really freshen up a bathroom. So not rocket science, and this is the befores, guys. So you can see the carpets that were in here. This is fake furniture. This is a Photoshop job, by the way. This is the original carpet that was obviously removed. You can see here, not much work was done externally. I think this was trimmed. A couple of other little bushes were added and some new fresh pine bark. So you don't really need to do much. This was the existing kitchen that was ripped out, vinyl floors that were ripped out. These types of features, I think there is a question here as well around these types of features that really do date a property. Okay, so generally we would remove these. You've got the really old 50-year-old heaters and things that are built in. Take them out, box them in, whatever you can do cost effectively. But this, even if you were to leave the kitchen, I'll be still probably taking this out here, or at least rendering it. Probably the most cost-effective solution if you want the space here. It is quite functional, is just to get plaster. Just plaster this over. It'll take an afternoon's work or a handyman, doing half a day, and then, very cost effectively boxing this in, and then it's not a detraction when you walk into the property. So definitely modernising those types of elements. In terms of this type of renovation, looking for 3s into 4s, that's great. It's good when it works. It's really limiting the types of properties that we can purchase, and therefore when you limit the types of properties we purchase, we potentially are foregoing a lot of the best deals. When we are looking at fewer properties, the calibre of the deal generally decreases. I think that needs to be said. Generally with this type of renovation, you're doing it for equity uplift purposes at the moment, not for increasing rental returns, right? That's a really important point. Just because, as I mentioned before, renovated properties are up here, unrenovated properties, the gap is closing and it's not coming down, it's going up. So you're not really getting extra bang for your buck in doing these types of renos. For rental growth, so these types of period aged features, that's going to detract from a capital growth perspective, not from a functional perspective, but more from a perception perspective. You have a valuer walking into this property, and the first thing they essentially look at is this, and they are really moving that property into a different context in their mind. Okay, so these are the types of features that do date the property, and you'd box that in with plaster or remove it just to change the first impressions as the valuer walks through it. It's not going to add anything in rental returns. Okay, you've got someone who's desperate to find a property because there's nothing available to rent in the area. You've done your job properly as an investor buying in a very scarcely held vacancy area. Well, guess what? They're not going to pay an extra $20 a week because you have boxed this in. It's just to do with changing the perception for the valuer, therefore getting a higher valuation from it, therefore that is capital growth, okay, in practical terms without selling the property.